Today, you guys are really lucky because we have Rebecca Dinstuhl, and she was born into a family of candy makers in Alabama. She was involved in many aspects of Saxon's Candies, her grandfather's candy business, until she moved to Memphis in 1970 and became part of the Dinstuhl family operation. In 1987, she departed from chocolates and began a career in the hospitality industry with the Peabody Hotel Group. During her 14-year tenure there, she served as general manager of the Ridgeway Inn as well as director of sales and marketing of the Peabody Hotel. In 2000, Rebecca returned to Alabama as director of marketing of the Winfrey Hotel in Birmingham. She was also active in Alabama Tourism Bureau. Due to her past experience in the confectionery industry, she was asked to take over the helm as president of Dinstuhl's Fine Candy Company. During her 12 years at Dinstuhl's, she's presented the products on QVC, shipped truffle pops to the Super Bowl, NBA Finals, and the Kentucky Derby, as well as been featured in People magazine as the Valentine Chocolate Recommendation. And the company has been recognized as 2016's Best of Memphis Best Specialty Food Store, 2015 Memphis Most Award Best Sweet Shop, #1 Fudge in America, Cooking with Pauline Magazine, Best Candy Store in the South, Taste of the South Magazine, 2010 Small Business Award finalist, Memphis Business Journal. So you guys are not the only ones who love Dinstuhl's candy. So, help me welcome Rebecca Dinstuhl.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Does anybody here like chocolate? Yeah. All right. Well, we may be able to find something that's going to satisfy your sweet tooth today. But before we start tasting it, we're going to learn a little bit about chocolate. So many of you probably know a lot about chocolate, but we're going to do a quick review just for those experts. And for those that may not have had an opportunity, we're going to learn a couple of things today. The history of chocolate begins with the cocoa pod. And this is grown, this is one of the cacao trees, and these are the cocoa pods. But they're all grown 10 degrees either side of the equator. So in countries like South America, Brazil, Mexico, you've got many of the beans come from Africa, but you've got them coming from all over the world, but primarily within the equator boundaries. That's the perfect growing condition for the cacao tree. And this is the beginning of the way the cacao blooms. So beautiful blooms, and they actually come right out of the trunk of the tree. And they start to grow, and as they mature, you're going to see them take on these beautiful hues of orange and gold. And that's how we know that they're ripe and ready to be harvested. And even today, they're harvested in a very simplistic way with machetes where the workers go into the cacao fields and they're going to whack off the cacao pods and they bring them in. They're going to be piled in big piles, but you just see the beautiful colors of the cocoa pods. Inside is where the magic happens. This is where the cocoa beans are actually grown. If you can imagine a cantaloupe, it's very similar. I kind of liken it to a cantaloupe because if you've got the seeds inside, and the seeds of the pod is actually the cocoa bean, but it's grown in this white-looking substance, and that becomes a very important part for creating the flavor of the cocoa beans. So as they're harvested, they're piled all in a rough area. They're placed on concrete pads. Sometimes they're actually dried in drying houses, but in the rustic way where it's still done in many times today, they're actually poured out onto concrete. And so you're going to see this is a very simple scene of how it's done, just outside a church. So once the beans have been allowed to dry, the banana leaves are placed on top of them. The beans are allowed to ferment. placed into jute bags. They're going to be measured and graded. This is actually a lady making the old-fashioned chocolate drink that we're going to learn about in just a second. But once they're put in the jute bags, then they're shipped all over the world to the chocolate companies everywhere. Now, in the late 1600s, chocolate became a very important part of the culture of Europe. Because prior to that, it was a very rustic thing. The Aztecs discovered it, and it was called food of the gods. It was really a very selected few that got to partake of chocolate. It was the beans were traded as we trade money today. So it was quite an appreciated thing. But then in the late 1600s, it became the rage in Europe, and they opened these beautiful chocolate houses. And this is actually a painting of one of the chocolate houses in London. So it was, in those days, it was a liquid drink, and it was very bitter. Really, you wouldn't enjoy it today. It's not like our hot chocolate today. But they thought it to be very healthy, and it was quite an establishment to be able to go into the chocolate houses and partake of this unique beverage. Then, a man by the name of Joseph Fry in the early 1700s found a way to make a chocolate cake, or what we would call a chocolate bar. So that was the very beginning of chocolate in a solid state, before it was only in liquid. Then, as things progressed, in 1875, there was a man named Mr. Peter. And he had a friend in the neighboring mountain in Switzerland by the name of Mr. Nestle. Mr. Peter owned a chocolate factory, but he wasn't making enough money. He was really trying to grow sales, but the chocolate had a very bitter taste to it. It was still in a solid state, but he was trying to find a way that he could incorporate Mr. Nestle's dairy products to sweeten it just a bit. But as many of you know, milk is a water-based product. Chocolate is oil-based because of the cocoa butter. They couldn't get it to mix. It took the two of them 5 years to finally understand that you have to separate the cocoa butter from the cocoa powder, what they now call cocoa cake, and then in the process of reblending that, then you can add cream, you can add vanilla, you can add sugar, and you develop the taste profile of what we today know as milk chocolate. Mr. Peter's chocolate factory began to boom, and so he then opened a chocolate factory in the United States just outside of Philadelphia in the late 1800s. And the process that he used, this is a very early stage of it, but this shows some of the winnowing of the beans, and then the blending and the crunching of the reblending of the chocolate cake, and the cocoa butter, and the vanilla, and the sugar. All of this came together for the way they now make milk chocolate. It takes 36 hours for the crunching process, for the reblending of these ingredients together to actually make chocolate as we know it. But these machineries came to the U.S., and so then that brings us kind of into the chocolate that we know and to Dinstuhl's. Dinstuhl's began in Memphis in 1902. So this year we are celebrating 115 years in business right here in Memphis. It's something that we're very proud of. And the other interesting fact is Mr. Peter's Chocolate Company that came to the States in 1892 started blending Dinstuhl's special formula of chocolate when they opened. And we are still using that exact same blend today, 115 years later. Now, it becomes very challenging to make sure that the specifications are always met in an ever-changing society today. And people are wanting us to add this or take that away, but it is exactly the same as Mr. Peter and Mr. Nestle created in 1875. So the origin of our chocolate goes that far back. And their slogan was, because they originated in Switzerland, it's as high, the quality is as high as the Alps. So they still address 197 and a half Main Street. So I questioned, why a half? Well, in those days, there were apartments above the storefronts, and so we speculate that this is Granddaddy Dinstuhl with the mustache, or the bigger mustache there, and he and his wife Lula lived in the apartment above the candy store. One other little factoid that I'll share with you. He started the candy store in 1902. In 1905, he opened the very first theater in Memphis, which was called the Theatorium, just a few doors down. So you could come and have your soda, get your chocolate, and go watch a movie. And this is just some fun pictures that we've come across that kind of depicts the early days. You can actually see Amuse 5 cents. We think that that was probably the sign outside the Theatorium. This is the next store that they opened on Madison, 120 Madison. As you can see, this is looking west on Madison. You can see the post office at the end of the street, and Dinstuhl sign on the right. So that was their next store. This is a front view of that store. Now, Dinstuhl still does it the old-fashioned way. Many companies have mechanized, they've got equipment. Sometimes the product is never touched by human hands. But that's not the way we do it at Dinstuhl's. And many of you, I think, have been through our candy kitchen before, have actually seen the way we do it. Some of our equipment, we have one piece that makes our fudge fondant. It actually was cast in 1914, and it's part of our working equipment today. So we don't throw anything away around there. We use it for a long, long time. But we still do everything by hand, even though we have equipment that assists us in the way we make candy. This is just one of our southern treats. As many of you may have known, but early days of Dinstuhl's, they didn't make chocolates much in the summertime because we didn't have air conditioning. So that's why you have some traditional southern candies, like our maple pecan praline. Here is our hand-spoon divinity, which we can never make enough of at Christmas time. Everybody's always begging for more, but it's made primarily with egg whites, vanilla, and sugar, and then it's whipped and hand-spooned per batch. We can yield about 30 pounds per batch, and a batch takes about 2 hours to make, so it's a very precious candy around the Christmas season. So we're going to try a new process this fall, and we'll see if it pans out so we can produce a little bit more. Still the same quality. And the cashew crunch. Now, the picture that you see here not only depicts our real cashew crunch, which we have samples for you today. It's a pure butter griddle made with brown sugar and cashews, and it's sprinkled with just a bit of fine coconut. Now, a lot of people say, oh, I don't like coconut. I don't really care for that. I say, just try it. And they love it. They can't believe they like something with coconut in it. But the coconut adds more of a texture than it does like a long shred coconut, like many people are accustomed. So if you haven't tasted the cashew crunch, I encourage you to try a little bit. We make 3 griddles at Dinstuhl's. One of them is our peanut griddle, and we add a little twist at the very end where we sprinkle it with a touch of sea salt. Our pecan griddle is one of my very favorites, and if you haven't tried that, you really should. Again, butter-based with brown sugar, and then we add the special flavor, and we do pecan halves in that. It is a delicious griddle. Then the cashew crunch is our newer griddle of the others. And in 1950, there was a candy maker in New York, upstate New York. And he and his wife were getting up in age, and they had these great recipes that they had no one to leave to. So he ran an ad in a candy publication that said, if anyone's willing to come and spend time and let me teach you the recipe, and you must vow to always make it exactly the same way, I'll give you the formula. So Gene Dinstuhl, who was the 3rd generation, traveled to New York, spent 2 weeks with the man, and he taught him how to make cashew crunch. Dad brought the recipe back, and they began making it. And it kind of had mixed reviews, but everybody liked the traditional peanut brittle. But over time, we sell, and we still make it with pure butter. We make it stirred in copper kettles with old spatulas. I think some of that flavoring continues to season it as it goes along, but we make it in 22-pound batches. If you can, and it takes 20 minutes to make a 22-pound batch. So if you do the math and understand that we sell 10,000 pounds at Christmas, you can see we get a little busy this time of year. Oh, I was going to also mention, if you see in the front, we had a customer who said, why don't you put chocolate on it? So we said, okay. So now we also have it regular or covered in chocolate. So you can get it either way. Then we had another customer who said, well, why don't you cover it in dark chocolate? So we did that too. So you can get it any way you like. This is also a fairly new piece for us. It's called Heavenly Crunch. And this, we take pretzel pieces, cranberries, we take a cereal, it's actually golden grams, add a few cashews and peanuts to it, toss it in a light white coating, and it's a great munchy piece. You know, if you're wanting to have something by the television or something, it's a nice, sweet, and crunchy and salty, those combinations together, which are very, very popular today. So that's another fun one. And then the old standby, turtleness. And this is basically our fresh caramel, which we use fresh cream making our caramel. And the caramel is cooked not quite as high as we do for our caramel square, but the rest of the ingredients are all the same. But that way, it's just a little softer consistency. The caramel is then funneled, one by one, onto a bed of chopped pecans. And right now, our pecan source is out of Alabama. So we get them, we source everything locally the best we can. And so we're very pleased with this particular pecan company is called Whaley's Pecans. And they make it's a family-owned organization. They produce a very high-quality pecan. So that's our pecan pieces. Then once that caramel sets up, then we enrobe it in chocolate. And we typically do it in milk, but it's also available in dark. And then our award-winning chocolate pecan fudge. We were very excited. Several years ago, I received a call about this time of the year. And it was a publication out of Birmingham, and they said, we're doing a fudge tasting. Could you send us some samples? I said, certainly, we'd be happy to send you samples. So our chocolate pecan fudge is one of our founding recipes. Great-granddaddy Dinstuhl started with this in 1902. He not only used it as the fudge, but he also melted it down and used it on the ice cream sundaes for the hot fudge topping. So I'll give you a little secret about how to do that at home later, but it is the best. Anyway, we use this basic fudge recipe in so many different things. We make basic fudge that's in the pan. We cover it in dark chocolate. We cover it in milk chocolate. We make suckers out of it. We do lots of things with fudge. We have the fudge bars, if you've ever seen them by the cash register. It's a great pickup treat. So I thought, I'm sending them everything we do in fudge. So I fixed a big box of samples and sent it off the way. Never heard a peep, never heard if they got it, nothing else. Mid-November, we got a phone call from a customer and said, wow, congratulations, you're number one. I said, number one in what? They said, you're ranked number one in America. We're like, oh my gosh. So we ran to the store to try to find magazines, and sure enough, they had ranked us as the number one fudge in America by Paula Dean's magazine out of Birmingham. So we're very excited about that. We hang on to that ranking. We've never been superseded by it. So as far as we're concerned, we're number one in America forever. And then we would also have the good fortune of being selected as one of the best candy stores in the South by the Taste of the South publication. So several, every once in a while someone will contact us. We're not quite sure how they find us, but they do, and we're very excited to share our candies at our store. Now moving a little bit to the finer side of things. So we've looked at some of our Southern traditions, but then there comes fine chocolates. And there's a little difference, because when you're dealing with fine chocolates, you've got to have, first of all, you start with the finest chocolate, like good. That marking on the top of the chocolate is called a chocolate stream. It is actually done by hand on each piece, and as the chocolate comes through the enroller, there's a lady that sits right there, and she taps the top of the chocolate with her fingertip, and she makes a letter. So in a few moments, when you get to try some samples, I will show you the example of chocolate stream, and we've just produced a little pamphlet that's your cheat sheet, so that when you get a box of Dinstools, you can tell everybody what's inside. So this is something new we've started, so I hope that you'll enjoy playing the art of chocolate reading. But the primary premise is all creams are going to be round in shape because many of them are hand rolled. The other pieces, such as a caramel, is going to be square because they're cut into squares. So is a chocolate fudge is also cut into squares. It's slightly different size. Jellies are rectangles. Marshmallows are a larger square. So you start to kind of get the system down. And then if you look at the top of that piece of chocolate, you're going to see a mark that's going to show you what is inside. Example, M for maple cream, R for raspberry cream, O for orange cream. So the creams are pretty simple because you've got the letters that will tell you the secret. The ones that get a little more challenging are more the geometric shapes, such as a caramel. A vanilla caramel has a diagonal line across the square. And you'll get to see that and taste that in just a few moments. So we'll learn more about chocolate streaming as we go along. And at Dinstuhl's, something also that's emerged since probably the 50s was the emergence of fresh fruits dipped in chocolate. And I know most of you hopefully have heard about Dinstuhl's chocolate-covered strawberries. Well, our strawberries, and they can be done on a chocolate fountain if you prefer. This is my son, who I'm very proud of. And this is a great chocolate tasting table that we can set up for your parties and everything. But our chocolate, we'll come back to that, our chocolate strawberries, get to that in just a second. There must be an end here. We actually, here we go, we take our favorite is fresh Louisiana strawberries. And we cap the berry, clean it, and then it is immersed into a sugar fondant. Now that's really kind of our secret ingredient. We still make fondants at Dinstuhl's, and so many companies today don't. They either buy things pre-made, but they don't actually start from scratch. But all of our fondants are made right there in the kitchen. And this is primarily just sugar and water that's been cooked properly and whipped. But it starts with melting the fondant, we immerse the strawberry into it, then the strawberry has to set so that that fondant will harden around it. Then it's enrobed in chocolate. But we have an entire team of people during the big seasons, such as Valentine's and Mother's Day, and we will, this past Valentine's, we capped over 50,000 strawberries in 2 days. That yielded about 6,000 pounds. So it was a big season for us, but it's an all hands on deck to get ready for strawberry season. So we're going to go back. I apologize, I had those out of order. But we're going to go back and talk a little bit more. But our strawberries, some people come in and they say, well, how are they different? Well, they're going to be liquid inside. So we kind of caution people, say, our favorite thing is you got to sit in the bathtub and eat them. But you definitely need to be careful when you're eating them because they'll drip all over you. Some people like to say they would like to serve them at a wedding shower or a wedding reception. I always try to dissuade them because I'm like, people may not understand what they're biting into and you're going to ruin clothes. So we can do something different for you. If you insist on having strawberries for a wedding reception, we can just dip them in the chocolate so they're not quite as messy for you. But I don't recommend serving the ones that have the fondant in them. But in addition to the strawberries, we also dip chocolate-covered grapes, chocolate-covered pineapple, and those two we have year-round. This month is the last month for strawberries, so if you haven't had your fill this year, you better hurry up. out because Labor Day weekend will finish the season for this year. But this summer, in summertime, we also, in June, we start dipping fresh raspberries, and then this time we are dipping blackberries. So they are wonderful, and just one of the favorite treats, but the seasons last much shorter for raspberries and blackberries. These are just some specialty things that we can do for parties. This is actually a molded dark chocolate crown. And then we have our fondant mints, which many of you had at parties and weddings and special occasions. In fact, I brought some here that I'll decorate for you a little bit later if you'd like to taste one. But again, it's the old-fashioned fondant mint. Many people call them butter mints. There's no butter in them at all. It's just primarily sugar, water, and oil, and peppermint. But they make for a beautiful plate. We can decorate them in many different ways. They can be molded in the shapes of bells or roses. Here we've decorated them with the chocolate M. This was actually a special reception that we did for Marriott Court. And these are some other beautiful mints that we rosebuds and kind of the old-fashioned tradition mint with the fondant mints. But many times it's a special treat on your dinner table if you're having a special occasion. These are some others we did. These were actually featured in Rachel Ray's magazine a couple of years ago. And this is what we call pastel top, where we take the fondant mint, which we can do in many different colors. That fondant mint is placed on top of a dark chocolate disc, and then we decorate the top of it with chocolate. So again, it's a delicious piece of candy. In fact, I'm working at the end of this month to do some of these for a wedding that's going to be in New York City. So we ship these all over the country, and it's something that you can't get anywhere but Dinstuhl's, to my knowledge. I haven't seen them anywhere else. This is the traditional ice chip, which it's a beautiful array of colorful fruit squares. It's actually coating with little chips of hard candy included. So we've got the ice chips, and then we've got the hostess mints, which is the 3-layer piece. It's a dark chocolate layer with creme de menthe in the center, and then dark chocolate on top. Again, a great party treat. And then, you know, we've got Elvis coming up. Well, this is going to be a big time, because this is the 40th anniversary of his death. So, Dinstuhl's, we're very proud to say that we have a license with Elvis Presley Enterprises, which allows us to make Elvis chocolates. It's amazing how many things that we sell that's related to Elvis, and it keeps growing every year. This year, we're going to be featuring a new piece that's the Wonder of You chocolate bar, which is the relaunch of the album. So we have those available in the store, and then we also sell them online. But we also have other things, just the chocolate bars. We have the small and the large. We've got chocolate notes. We've got traditional Southern things like the white chocolate cotton bowl. So if you're sending out something that you want to represent a little taste of Memphis, Dinstuhl's is a great way to do that. Here's just another party idea of many different things we can do, from truffle pots to pogo sticks that are decorated with different colors. We just have a lot of fun. Someone was asking me earlier, they were sharing with me a story where their mom came to one of our open houses, and she had such a wonderful time, and it just thrills our heart to know that people really get the joy out of it that we hope. Because at Dinstuhl's, we say we sell happiness. Now, here's another example where we're getting close to apple season. Starting Labor Day weekend, we'll kick off our caramel apples. And this is something that we've done for fall weddings, where we take a caramel apple, tie it with a lovely ribbon. And our traditional caramel apple, we also roll it in pecans, then we dip it in chocolate, and now we've also made a new one where we're rolling it in cashew crunch. So you've got many varieties of caramel apples at Dinstuhl, so you can look forward to that very soon. But as we kick off the fall season, we also have our chocolate haunted house. It's a lot of fun. And we hand mold all of our chocolates right in the candy kitchen. So everything that you see molded in Dinstuhl's, it's done right there. And a chocolate turkey for your Thanksgiving table. And, everybody loves that. You can crack it up at the end of the meal and let the kids enjoy. Another thing that we do in the fall is the old-fashioned tradition traditional marzipan. This is an almond paste that has been hand rolled and hand painted to look like different pieces of fruit. We make one batch a year, and it's a beautiful thing for your Thanksgiving table or even getting into Christmas season. But it's a one batch a year because it takes so much time to actually hand mold all of these. And then we're off to Christmas. Last year, the reason I'm showing you this one is this was a Santa Claus that Macy's had us make just for them, and we shipped them to Miami, to New York, to Chicago, and to Los Angeles. So you can buy Dinstuhl's chocolate Santas throughout the U.S. in Macy's this past year. And we're working on the project for this year, so we're not quite sure what they're going to choose, but we're excited to be able to offer it to people through outside of the Memphis area. Then, molding chocolate is becoming a bigger and bigger thing at Dinstuhl's. And while we're going to stop here just a second, and I'm going to ask for some helpers to come up, and we're going to let you start tasting a little bit of chocolate, because at Dinstuhl's we have several different blends. We have our traditional milk chocolate blend that we've talked about, that is strictly from the original milk chocolate formulation. But we also have white chocolate. Now, some people say it's white chocolate is not real chocolate. And for many years, the FDA would not allow it to be called chocolate. You had to call it white coating. But as long as it has cocoa butter included in the formulation, then they said it could be called white chocolate. So it's more of just a determination thing. One of the things that I will, as you're sampling today, I'm going to get you to taste it. There's hopefully we got enough for everybody. That's
Sarah Catner, do you want to help me?
I want you to, when you're sampling chocolate, the first thing I want you to do is put it in your mouth and just let it sit for a moment. You want the warmth of your mouth to melt that. You want to start getting the flavor of the candy. You're going to taste many different profiles of flavor. And so, but when you first get it, just let it sit there for just a second before you just start chomping on it. Because it will really take on a wonderful aroma in your mouth, and I think you will enjoy it. So we're going to let you try this first. But I'll go a little further to say, one of the things I want to encourage you to do is to make sure that you are reading labels when you're buying products that contain chocolate. There are many products out on the market, in the mass market today, that may look like chocolate. It may smell a little bit like chocolate, but it has no chocolate in it whatsoever. So, chocolate is one of the healthiest foods in the world. And the higher the cocoa content, the better it is. It is the highest in flavonoids, which is one of the healthy things for your antioxidants. So the white chocolate that I'm giving you has 0 cocoa. It only has cocoa butter. So this one is not in what's considered to be the heart healthy category. But many people enjoy white chocolate, so we want to start you there, let you get a little taste of it, and then we're going to progress using more cocoa as we go along. The next chocolate that you're going to taste is going to be our milk chocolate blend. And this has about a 32% cocoa content. It also has cream, it has sugar, and this one has vanilla. So you will taste that vanilla. You probably are tasting it in the white already. But this is going to, in just a moment, when you try the milk chocolate, this is going to have a little richer chocolate taste. But again, let it kind of sit in your mouth a moment and melt. And then in a moment, we're going to progress to the darker chocolate. Now, our regular dark chocolate blend is about a 52%. It's still moving up the grade, but it is still, and it's a much healthier treat than the white chocolate. But we're going to get even higher. We're going to go to a 72% in a moment. So, savor the white?
You don't have to keep running from it.
Okay, very good. So you tasted the white, it's a much sweeter taste. Then the milk chocolate is you're gonna start getting into the richer profiles. So let it sit just a second in your mouth, let it warm up, and get those flavors going. All right, who's into milk chocolate? All right, so you're tasting the difference between the sweeter white and then the milk, and then the dark is coming your way. So as you get a little bit deeper, one of the things I like about our dark chocolate blend is a lot of people think it's going to be bitter. But it really is a very rich, broad-based profile of chocolate. To me, it's not bitter. It's just a much deeper taste of chocolate. In the South, milk chocolate is still king. Us Southerners, we like sweet things. And so it has always been the most predominant. But we are seeing a movement more and more toward the dark chocolate. I think as people are learning about it, they're experiencing dark chocolate, where before they might have been afraid of it, or like, oh, I don't like that. They're being a little more adventurous because of the health benefits to it. So we're seeing dark chocolate become a much more flavored. All right, anybody with the dark chocolate yet? Okay. Do you taste the richness in that chocolate? Very good. Now, in a few moments, I brought, just for we'll sample after the fact, I brought some 72%. Now, once you get over that 52%, then you're going to start getting into something that some people will classify as a little more bitter in taste. So this is a little more cultivated in the taste, but I did bring some in case you wanted to try it. So I'll have it up front after the fact. But I do, if you feel like sampling it, I'd be happy for you to, because I think it's important to explore those new things, because this is actually considered to be a heart-healthy treat. The doctors are recommending 1 ounce of what they call high cocoa chocolate. Anything over 70% profile is considered to be that. And it's very nutritious, and it's really nice if you like a glass of red wine in the evening, have a little bit of dark chocolate with it, and it makes a nice, nutritious treat. Healthy, too. So, we take these chocolates, and one of the important things in the process of dealing with real chocolate is that it must remain in temper. Just like steel must be tempered for its tensile strength, chocolate must be in temper in order for it to have its sheen as well as its solid format. So you can see the shine on this chocolate. Some of the mass-producing products that you see on the market today actually will use paraffin to give it this sheen. But not at Dinstuhl's. We actually temper the chocolate so it is a natural sheen. That sheen is actually the cocoa butter that you're seeing shine. And I'm going to experiment something for you a little bit. We'll bring the house lights up once you see this. And I'm going to experiment to show you a little bit about how we do some of that. Oh, here we go. This is a chocolate brush. It's a very expensive tool, even though it's rather small and unique. It is made from a special badger hair, and it can only be used with chocolate. But it is used to brush chocolate. If you've ever been to the big factories, some of them may have large rotating brushes. But at Dinstuhl's, we do everything by hand. So we're going to brush it, and you can actually bring the cocoa butter to the surface and create that shine in the event that it loses its luster a little bit. But if you've ever gotten a chocolate bar in a vending machine or bought it at the grocery store and maybe left it in your car, and then you open it up, it had white streaks or white dots all over it. Well, what has happened is that the cocoa butter, because it is out of temper because of the heat, has risen to the surface. There's nothing wrong with it. You can eat it. It won't hurt you. It's just you're seeing the streaks of cocoa butter within that chocolate. So just FYI, don't throw it away, go ahead and enjoy it, but just know that that's what's going on with it. This is a box of our holiday assortment. We call it our Finest Select, and it's a great gift for the holiday season. And this is what we call our fine chocolates, which we're going to sample just shortly. This is when we were featured for Valentine's in People magazine. Jennifer Goodwin, as you may know, is a local girl, and she happened to mention to someone that Dinstul's was her favorite chocolate. In fact, she was in the store this week. So we were kind of excited to see her home. But that made big news, and so we made the front of the gift guide for the Valentine's season with our assorted chocolates. This is part of our Valentine feature. Valentine's is a big season for Dinstools. Christmas is the biggest, Valentine's is next. But we hand-pack all of these heart-shaped boxes. The other interesting fact is not only are all the chocolates handmade, all the boxes are handmade as well. And here's Mike dipping our strawberries again, and then we roll right into the Easter season. Some of our chocolate bunnies that are all hand molded in our candy kitchen. We crystallize those for the Easter bunny to hop on down the trail and create a wonderful surprise for your Easter celebration. As well as our cream eggs. Now all of these are handmade, hand rolled, and hand dipped and decorated. So Easter's a big tradition at Dinstools, as well as all of our hand-packed Easter baskets. So, as she mentioned, we had an opportunity to make truffle pots for the Super Bowl. I received a phone call right after Christmas, and we were exhausted. It had been a big season, and we were tired. And there was a guy I'd never heard of before, but he called me and he said, "Someone gave me your name, and I was just calling to see if you make truffle pots." I said, "Well, we make truffles, but we've never made a truffle pot." And he says, "Well, do you think you can?" I said, "Well, let's sure give it a try." So we got in the kitchen, and our truffle is, the primary ingredient is chocolate and whipped cream. That's the ingredients for truffle. Then if you've got any other flavorings that you add to it, then that can be a part of it, such as amaretto or champagne. But this one, he just wanted a dark chocolate ganache. So we had to change the formulation and add more chocolate to make it firmer, so that the ganache would stay on the stick, or else it's just like pudding, it'll just fall off. So we worked with it for quite a while, and we finally got it just right, dipped it in chocolate, rolled it in chocolate dragées, and we shipped him some samples. He called me and he says, "We need 8,000 of these." So, and we need them in 3 weeks. So, I mean, everybody got excited about it. We all pulled together, and we actually made 2 different ones. We made the chocolate ganache dipped in dark chocolate, and then we made a white chocolate ganache dipped in white chocolate rolled in pistachios. And that was a great one too. So we shipped 8,000 of them. These are the guys working on them there. And the gentleman on the right, on my right, on your left, is Tommy Washington. Tommy just retired at the end of last year. December the 30th was his last day. Tommy worked for Dinstools for 54 years. And I'll tell you, we weren't quite sure how we were going to make it without him, but I'm very proud of our staff. They just jumped in there. And Andrew, who is my son and 5th generation Dinstuhl, is leading the pack in the kitchen now and supervising all the production. He's doing a great job. So I'm very pleased with that. But Tommy, and this is Jesse, one of our other candy makers. They were so excited about the accomplishment because all of these had to be hand done, hand packed. And then we shipped them off to Detroit for the Super Bowl. Well, it wasn't that long after that we got another phone call from the people at Churchill Downs, and they said, "We heard about your truffle pots. We'd like to serve some of the Kentucky Derby." So that job was a little easier. They didn't need but about 3,000, so that was much simpler. We had been through big work. So soon after that, we got a call from Miami. And this was the people that were in charge of the American Center. It does That's when Miami was playing Los Angeles in the championship games. They were going to Los Angeles first. They had to play 2 games there.